Memphis Business Academy. This is where Yasser went to school, goes to school here, and was detained and stopped by Memphis Police Department on his way out of school, heading to a soccer game, the season opener. I got to meet Yasser while he was in detention because I heard from the administrators that are here with us today about his story. And from the short time that I've known him, I can tell you that he is a bright kid that loves school, loves soccer. Yes. Every time I talked to him when he was in detention, he said, "Do you know the scores of this game?" So I think that gives you a little bit of insight to the fact that he's just a regular 18-year-old. And I think his story demonstrates that immigrants are part of our community. We are part of our everyday community. They are your neighbor, they are your friend, they are your schoolmate. That's who's being impacted by the legislation that is happening and by the priorities of this administration. We are happy that he is back with us where he belongs, with his family and the people that care about him. There were many people that reached out, that gave to his legal fund aid, that sent their prayers and their well wishes, and the family and the school thanks them for that. I personally would like to thank the administrators of Memphis Business Academy for not giving up, for staying constant in the well-being of Yasser. They multiple times went up to Mason to visit him and kept him updated about his classmates, about the schoolwork. He was denied the ability to do his schoolwork. I asked about that, and I think that demonstrates the cruelty of this administration, that a young, high school junior would not be allowed to have his schoolwork. So again, I want to thank the Memphis Business Academy administrators for their leadership in this and showing that they care about all of their students. With that, we're going to hear a statement from Yasser's lawyer.
Okay, do that. Let's see here. Of course, I have it in my back pocket, the last pocket I was going to check. Okay, I suppose this is a good spot. Thank you all for being here today. I had a little bit more, but I'm going to condense it a little bit. Okay. My name is Jay Fernley. I am the immigration attorney for Yasser Lopez. I'm happy to be here to document and to communicate to the public the reality of the immigration process since July of 2025. And the real-world effects it is having on the community of Memphis. As just a brief introduction to myself, I just graduated from SIU Law School in May of 24, passed the bar, and became a lawyer in November of 24. I was a real estate attorney by trade until sometime last year when I started doing immigration cases to fill my time and to beef my practice up. I say all of that to say I am humbled by this opportunity to have had an impact on this young man's life and to have had an impact on the community of Memphis. I will briefly address certain issues around Yasser Lopez, but the majority of my comments will be on the immigration process in general. As to Yasser, there are still many unanswered questions. How a traffic stop in which Yasser was a passenger resulted in federal detention by an ICE agent is still unexplained. While during a traffic stop, one is expected to comply with procedures such as identifying oneself, providing proof of insurance. However, a police officer must be able to articulate a particular suspicion that leads them to investigate a further crime and not use generalizations. Eyewitness testimony says MPD ordered all 4 parties out of the vehicle due to some faint smell of perhaps marijuana. No drugs or contraband were found, no ticket was issued. All 4 members of the vehicle were similarly situated in regards to immigration. ICE must also use some particular reasonable suspicion standard to further investigate somebody. I ask, what was that initial provocation? There is no articulable reason as to why Yasser was detained. At what point was the decision made to detain him and not the other 3 occupants of the vehicle? It is all still very blurry. As Yasser's attorney, I do ask for some explanation. Moving forward, I will talk about a more general theme. I have seen fathers with work permits detained and removed from this country. I have seen a father of a 2-month-old removed to Honduras since October of 2025. I have seen a man who has worked in Memphis since 2008 removed to Mexico because he was pulled over while going to his landscaping job, the job that he had been going to for the last 10 years. These individuals were not given a bond. Every immigration case involves a custody determination that takes place by DHS. In the years prior, individuals were paroled into this country, and now DHS has changed their policy and are subjecting as many people as statutorily permitted to detention in hopes that it will coerce voluntary departure. Immigration proceedings are complicated because they're administrative in nature, and therefore the rules are totally different. Prior to the September 2025 Board of Immigration Appeals case matter Hurtado, immigration judges had jurisdiction to make determination as to a bond. However, this new ruling in BIA says that these persons are classified as aliens seeking admission and that they are not entitled to a bond hearing in which an IJ can make a determination. Whether you have been present in this country for 2 weeks or 20 years, DHS is classifying you as somebody who's seeking admission if you do not have proof of an I-94. Thankfully, Judge Littman does not agree with this practice and ruled in Yassir's favor as being unconstitutional. Unfortunately, not everyone will be freed or get such a ruling. Between asylums being pre-terminated to other countries and this new policy of what is the definition of a person seeking admission, the immigration system is almost unrecognizable as to what it was last year. We cannot treat people like cattle. Under the Biden administration, millions came to the U.S. using procedures that were acceptable, and they are now being told they did something wrong and must leave. Yasser had a pending court date for his case in March of 2027. With his A number, the ICE agents would have been able to identify this, and they still detained him, subjecting him to expedited removal. He should have been permitted to prepare himself for this March court date in 2027 without the fear or burden of knowing that he could be picked up at any day just because he was leaving his high school. We cannot blame the person who used the system as permitted. I hope Yassir's case shows an example of the real-world situation that clearly seems unfair and untasteful as a motivation to change the system. I have knowledge of another client, age 16, who attends Kingsbury, who has been in Virginia for the last 8 months at a youth center because he was also a passenger in a car and no other explainable reason. I would like to briefly address the Latino community in their native language. A los latinos, estoy con ustedes, un saludo. Lamento mucho la situación que ustedes están pasando en esta comunidad. Sin embargo, estoy encantado de servirles y haré todo lo que se pueda bajo la ley para ayudar a ustedes. In closing, people with a pending case should not have to worry about arbitrary detention, especially when there is no indication of them being a flight risk or having violent criminal history, as that is the way it's always been done in the past. I thank you very much.
We have Ms. Bobo here with MBA. She's the CEO of the school, and she'll have a couple of words for y'all as well.
Number one, thank you all so much for being here. And I would just like to say to everybody that helped to free Yasser, thank you so much. To you all, to our administrators, to our staff, this has impacted NBA in our community on a level that we are not accustomed to. Yasser he is a wonderful student, not was, because he's presently free. Yes. And y'all, excuse me, I may tear up, but we're so grateful. Yasser was a regular student, going to class, going on field trips, going to soccer practice, going to a soccer game, and then just a day later, he's in a detention camp like he's a criminal. Yasser is not a criminal to us. Yasser is a wonderful young man that is a part of our student body. We are so happy he is free. We saw him Friday. The first time we saw him, we were just so grateful to just hug him and love on him. Please know that we are so grateful, number one, that he is free. But number two, guys, this is deeper, because Yasser being away from us has affected our school, our student body. We have children now and families that are afraid to come to school to get the education that they deserve, the free education that they deserve. That is not fair to Yasser or any of our children. So I want you all to know that we are so grateful that he is here. He is here. He is released. We are celebrating here. He gonna help celebrate us because we are the #1 soccer team in Memphis. Shout out, quick shout out. However, we need for you all to understand what that means to our school system, what that means to our Latino and Hispanic families. That means so much. We need our kids to know that they can get the education they need and not get that in fear. Our children have stopped coming to school. We lost plenty of instructional time. It was worth it because we lost instructional time they did walkouts and they didn't know it. I wanted them to walk out because it was a worthy cause. And also, we went to Nashville to lobby. We went to D.C. to lobby. We took a wonderful group of kids to be there to support this cause. So please know we are excited, but we want change here in Memphis, Tennessee. Here in the Fraser community, we need change. As they go down these streets, our families are in fear, and that is not fair to children. Children are not, that is unfair. Our children haven't done anything. Not the children, guys, okay? So please know that we are grateful, but we do need things to change. We want the children here at NBA to feel like free, to feel secure about coming to school. That's why we have school. That's why we have education. Again, thank you. You are amazing.
Thank you.
You are amazing. And to my staff, thank you. And the founder, thank you. But please know there is a deeper meaning here, and we want change in this Fraser community for our children. Thank you.
At this moment, we can take a couple of questions. I'll say a brief statement regarding, yes, Yasser is free and with us now, but this has a lasting impact on everybody that was involved, including himself, right? This was tragic. We don't know exactly what he experienced in there, but we know that these were rough conditions that he was under. So with that, our students, our teachers, everybody has been affected. And we have to not violate our Constitution. He was out because the judge determined that his rights were violated. That's not us saying that. This is a judge saying that. And this is not uncommon, and I'll say that. Any questions?
We know that the facility in Mason, Tennessee recently opened. For you, Jay, or you, Representative Salinas, have you all seen, since this facility has opened, more instances where, similar to this with Yasser, where they're getting pulled over and taken to this facility in Mason?
Yes, and I think you can see the sheer volume of habeas corpus petitions that have been filed, and hearing the stories from family members as we were, waiting to see Yasser and hearing what their stories were. How did they get detained? We've seen a lot of racial profiling. We've seen a lot of people that were just taken for no cause. We still don't have answers for Yasser's case. Why? Why? The community deserves to know. The family deserves to know. Why was an 18-year-old that was headed to a soccer game, why were they stopped? He wasn't even driving. He wasn't even the driver. So why were they stopped? And how does a child that is going to a soccer game end up in detention? It is up to the mayor to answer those questions, the sheriff, anybody that was involved. I'm at the state house. I don't have access to all of that information, and we deserve transparency. Our community deserves transparency, as well as the family.
And the mayor has repeatedly said that NPD is not collaborating with ICE. But again, this instance shows something different. What do you make of that?
The evidence that we have seen in terms of the stories that we have heard, that's not true. And we know that it was MPD that made this stop. Whether they were collaborating or not, that's for the people in charge to answer those questions. And again, we deserve transparency and of how this happens.
And I would just like to say, all the cases, without sharing too much about them in specifics, 90% of anybody I'm representing right now in detention, their detention has resulted from a traffic stop. Whether that was a trooper, whether that was MPD, I would say it's hard to determine sometimes. I think sometimes they themselves aren't sure who initiated the stop. But it's for people not having their seatbelt on, or license plate being expired, or not maintaining the lane. I know of an instance where somebody didn't maintain their lane, and that was why they were stopped. And how that traffic stop eventually leads to an ICE investigation is still troubling to me, because you would think it would just be a municipal ticket, you know, pay your $150. What I'm trying to emphasize, I suppose, is that I don't have any clients at this moment who were arrested for domestic violence, and that is why they're in detention now. I don't have any clients who were arrested for petty theft of a cell phone or taking something from a gas station or convenience store. These are men going to their jobs more often than not. I shouldn't say just men, but these are individuals going to their jobs and getting pulled over for a seat belt or lane change without a turn signal, things like that. And it just doesn't seem justified as far as the campaign of that we're focusing on violent criminals. You know, we're focusing on traffic violators, is what it appears.
Yeah, and we've heard that Tennessee Highway Patrol also said they weren't collaborating with ICE. They said that at our hearings in Nashville, in the Government Operations Committee, they said that since last November, when their operation in Nashville happened, what did we hear when that was? We heard they were going hunting,
Is that
putting
the word?
people's dashes on people's hands as a game. Who could get the most immigrants? That's what we've heard, and we've seen those investigations. And they have said that they were no longer working with them. Well, what we are seeing on the ground does not align with that. I think you had a
Yeah,
question.
talking about next steps here, kind of twofold. One, is he going, as much as you can say, don't want to violate his privacy, but is he back in school? I know there's testing, soccer games, and then also on the legal side, what's happening there?
Yeah, we want him to come back to his regular life as any 18-year-old would. Again, when we were with him visiting, his number one concern was being back at school, being back at his soccer games, and that's what we want for him. And I don't know.
Sure. You know, while in detention, one is subject to something called expedited removal. So the expedited removal process can happen in 90 days, 6 months, depending on the pleadings. So he's no longer subject to expedited removal, so I'll just kind of keep it at that. He is on parole, and he will have court dates where will address his legal status, but he's no longer in expedited removal.
Does he still have the hearing in 2027, or has that changed a little bit?
He'll have a future date. Logistically, we actually don't know when that date will be yet, but he will have a future date. Yeah.
Have any of you reached out to MPD to question them as to how a regular traffic stop becomes or results in a detention at an immigration detention center?
I can speak to that. I know that there have been members of the media that have made request for FOIA request for the videos and have asked those questions. To my knowledge, I don't know that they have gotten answers. I think that's a question for the people that filed those requests, both from anyone and everyone that could have been involved. I know those requests have been made, and that's as much as I know.
Yeah, and I would just say that, you know, from my perspective, I was certainly more focused on his immigration, his immigration matter, and it's something that we're still investigating.
Thank you.
One last question from me. When he was being released, I know there was kind of a delay in that just a little bit. Can you talk to that and what was going on or what happened? And is that something that you usually see when someone is being released? Is it a delay?
Sure. You know, to that extent, I want to be fair to everybody in this exchange and say I do believe it was more logistics, communication chains. The ruling came in late, later than perhaps usual, and so I would just say I've seen an instance where rulings come in and 4 hours later they were out. It took more like 18 hours for him. I think I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt when I say them, DHS, ICE, all these departments. I'd give them the benefit of the doubt and say it was a communication. You know, when you get the ruling overnight, you have to come in the morning and there's a line of communication that has to happen. So I can't expect everybody to be let out within 30 minutes of the order being set. Having said that, perhaps they used more precaution. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I'll say that it was probably just a communication thing.
I can say that just the sheer volume that we have seen, we have overwhelmed our system. And I think that plays into some of the delays. But this is, I think, the question that we have to ask of the people in charge is, like, is this how we want to spend our resources? If MPD or THP or whoever is working with ICE and is prioritizing these things, is this how we want our resources spent? Do we want to overwhelm our courts with habeas corpus petitions because we're not following the Constitution? Do we want to overwhelm judges? And then, you know, we always talk about overcrowding in some of these facilities. Do we want to crowd our facilities with people that have not committed crimes? As a Tennessean and a Memphian that has lived here for 30 years, I would say the majority of Tennesseans would say no. That's not what we want as a collective, or the majority.
How instrumental was the staff at NBA and just the support there in helping Yasser get free?
I don't think I can overemphasize how important the staff here and the administrators have been. When I met Yasser, I was a stranger. You know, that was the first time I met him. And when I went to the detention center, I was like, well, I have to take someone from the school with me because I want him to have someone he recognizes, someone he knows, and someone that knows that he not only knows, but knows him. Our kids spend so much time in school. And when we were coordinating this, you know, these visits are happening on Saturdays, Sundays, sometimes really early, sometimes later in the afternoon, and never did they say no. They were willing to take time from their busy schedules to go and visit Yasser and give him hope and keep his spirits up. And I think, again, this detention turned this school upside down. It affected the students, it affected the faculty, it affected the families. Everyone was impacted by this. And it takes leadership to get everyone through this in the middle of testing, because that's what they're in the middle of preparing for graduation. Right. And that's what the administrators have done here in this case. And I won't, I'll never forget, I was on the phone and letting Reverend Anderson know, and he's like, I had lost hope. I was preparing the kids for the possibility that their classmate was not going to come back. And I'm just thankful for the level of commitment to each and every child that this school has had.
Now is Yasser going to be able to graduate on time?
So he's a junior.
Oh, he's just a junior?
He's just a
Okay.
junior, yes. But I know he's very ecstatic about getting back to his schoolwork. Is that it? Thank you, everybody.